There is a thought that visits you in the stillness of the night. It is not a fleeting concern, but a resident. A question that has worn a groove into the fabric of your mind. A single, unresolved note in the symphony of your life that refuses to harmonize. It is the problem that will not let you go. You have turned it over and over, examining it from every angle. You have mapped its edges, traced its roots, and exhausted every remedy within your grasp. Logic has failed you. Strategy has left you at a dead end. And yet, it remains. Not as a distant memory, but as a present ache, a shadow that stretches over the landscape of your days. You have been taught to see it as an adversary, an obstacle between you and happiness, a barrier to your peace. But what if the problem is not the enemy? What if the problem is a question you are not yet ready to answer? What if the thing that terrifies you most is not a sign that you have been abandoned, but proof that you have been chosen for a trajectory that your current vision cannot comprehend? Consider this: the silence you interpret as divine negligence is, in fact, a profound act of divine presence. You are standing in a space where your voice is no longer the primary sound. The echoes of your own desperation are fading, and in that quiet, something else is beginning to stir. You are not being rejected, you are being recalibrated. You are being stripped of the illusion that your problem is a mechanical fault that needs fixing, and are being introduced to the reality that it is a spiritual furnace meant for melting and reshaping. When the earth is parched and the sky withholds its rain, the roots of the tree do not surrender. They do not beg for water. Instead, they do the only thing they can: they dig deeper. The very crisis that threatens its existence above the soil forces it to anchor itself more profoundly to the hidden sources of life below. The problem that will not let you go is the drought forcing you to dig. It is the pressure pushing you downward, into the dark and fertile ground of your own soul, to find the waters you never knew existed. Stop looking at the ceiling for a door that will open, and look instead at the floor. The descent is the destination. The very problem that is weighing you down is the gravity you need to ground yourself in a reality far greater than the one you can manipulate with your hands. The difficulty is not a wall, it is a weight, and you are being given the strength to carry it, to be transformed by its pressure into something harder, something purer. This is the truth that the heart whispers when the mind is finally quiet. The problem that won't let you go is the only thing keeping you tethered. The problem that won't let you go has become your anchor. And anchors, while they may feel like chains in the storm, are the only things that prevent you from being swept away into the abyss. Do not pray for the problem to vanish. That is a prayer born of fear. Pray instead for the strength to be worthy of it. Pray for the eyes to see the treasure hidden in its heart. For when you finally understand the secret of the thing that refuses to leave, you will realize it was never meant to be a guest. It was meant to be a teacher. And it will remain, a persistent guide, until you have learned the lesson that will set you free, the haunting echo. It is the first and most essential truth to grasp about the problem that refuses to release its grip on you. You have been conditioned to view this persistent issue as a relic of your past, a ghost that trails behind you as punishment for missteps, poor decisions, or moments of weakness. But this interpretation is a profound misunderstanding that keeps you trapped in a cycle of regret and self-flagellation. The problem is not reaching backward to remind you of where you have been, it is reaching forward to pull you toward where you are meant to go. It is not an echo of failure, it is a herald of purpose. When something refuses to leave your life, despite every effort to expel it, despite every prayer for its removal, despite every logical strategy to outmaneuver it, you must ask yourself a dangerous and liberating question: what if this is not a punishment but a summons? What if the very thing you are trying to escape is the very thing you are meant to enter? The persistence of the problem is not evidence of divine disfavor, it is evidence of divine intention. A fleeting difficulty passes like a cloud, forgotten as soon as the sun reappears. But the problem that digs its heels into your life, that refuses to be shaken off or reasoned away, that returns to your thoughts in the quiet moments and haunts your dreams, this is something else entirely. This is a signal that you are standing at a threshold. The universe, or whatever name you give to the force that orchestrates your existence, does not waste its energy on trivial matters. It does not manufacture obstacles for the sake of cruelty. It does not plant thorns in your path to watch you bleed. Every trial that remains is a curriculum, and you are the student who has not yet passed the examination. The problem will not release you because you have not yet extracted the wisdom it carries. It will not fade because you have not yet become the person who can receive its gift. You see, the echo is not of the past, it is of the future. It is the sound of your potential reverberating backward through time, calling out to you from the person you are destined to become. That future version of you is speaking to this present version, and the problem is the language of that communication. When you feel the weight of this unresolved issue pressing down on your chest, you are not being crushed by history, you are being summoned by destiny. The persistence is a form of divine patience, a refusal to let you settle for less than what you were created to embody. The echo will not quiet because the message is not yet received. The wound will not heal because the lesson is not yet learned. The door will not open because you are not yet ready to walk through it. And this is not cruelty, this is mercy. It is the mercy of a love so fierce that it will not allow you to remain small. It is the mercy of a hand that holds you steady even when you are thrashing against it, insisting that you know the way forward when you are, in truth, lost. The problem that will not let you go is the compass that refuses to spin. It points consistently in one direction, and that direction is toward the life you are afraid to claim. The echo is not a reminder of where you have failed, it is a preview of where you must go. So stop trying to outrun it. Stop trying to silence it. Stop wishing it away as if it were an inconvenience to be removed. The echo is your lifeline. The echo is your guide. The echo is the voice of tomorrow speaking into the silence of today, and it will not stop until you listen, until you respond, until you finally understand that the problem is not the enemy but the invitation, shattered autonomy. This is the second profound truth that lies buried within the problem that refuses to release you, and it is perhaps the most difficult to accept because it strikes at the very core of your identity. You have spent your entire life constructing a narrative of self-sufficiency, building walls of competence, accumulating knowledge, sharpening skills, and perfecting strategies, all in service of a singular illusion that you are the architect of your own existence. You believe that with enough effort, enough intelligence, enough determination, you can solve any equation, overcome any obstacle, and chart any course. This belief is not merely comforting, it is intoxicating. It gives you a sense of control in a chaotic world, a feeling of agency that makes the unpredictable nature of life seem manageable. But then comes the problem that will not let you go, and it shatters this entire edifice with a single, devastating blow. It arrives not as a challenge to your abilities but as an exposure of their limits. It is not a puzzle you can solve but a mystery you can only endure. And in that endurance, something crucial begins to happen. Your autonomy, that fiercely guarded fortress of self-reliance, begins to crumble. This crumbling is not a tragedy, it is an intervention. The problem persists precisely because it is designed to break you open, to crack the shell of your independence so that something larger can enter. You see, as long as you believe you can fix everything with your own hands, you will never reach beyond yourself. As long as you are convinced that your intellect is sufficient, you will never tap into the wisdom that transcends human reasoning. As long as you trust in your own capacity to manage your affairs, you will never discover the power that flows from surrender. The problem that clings to you is not a failure of your problem-solving abilities, it is a divine demolition of your dangerous self-sufficiency. It is the wrecking ball that swings into your carefully constructed life and reduces it to rubble, not to destroy you but to clear the ground for a foundation you could never have built on your own. Consider the irony of your situation. You have been praying for relief, for a solution, for an escape, and all the while, the very persistence of the problem is the answer to a deeper prayer you did not know you were making. You have been asking for an exit, and the divine response is a refusal to let you leave because leaving would mean returning to the prison of your own limited capabilities. The problem keeps you stuck because stuck is the only place where you can finally stop striving. Stuck is the only place where you can finally admit that you are not enough, and in that admission, you become eligible for a help that is more than enough. The shattering of your autonomy is the beginning of your liberation because it frees you from the exhausting burden of having to be the hero of your own story. It allows you to step down from the throne of your life and make room for a king who actually knows how to rule. The problem that will not let you go is the loving hand that pries your fingers loose from the controls you were never meant to hold. It is the gentle force that pries open your clenched fists, fists that have been grasping for solutions, for outcomes, for certainty, and reveals that your hands were never meant to grip, they were meant to receive. Every sleepless night spent wrestling with this issue, every moment of frustration and confusion, every tear shed in the darkness is actually a chisel chipping away at the stone of your ego, revealing the soft, vulnerable, and ultimately powerful being that exists beneath. You are being broken so that you can be rebuilt. You are being emptied so that you can be filled. You are being stripped of your autonomy so that you can discover your true dependence, and that dependence is not weakness, it is the strongest thing you will ever know because it connects you to a strength that never falters, never fails, and never runs out, the veil of proximity. This is the third and most paradoxical truth that emerges from the problem that refuses to release you, and it challenges everything you have ever believed about the nature of connection, communication, and divine responsiveness. You have been taught to measure love by presence, to equate attention with action, and to interpret silence as absence. When you cry out and hear nothing in return, when you stretch your hands toward the heavens and feel only empty air, when the problem persists despite your most desperate pleas, you conclude that you have been abandoned, that your voice is too small to reach the throne, that your distress has gone unnoticed. But this conclusion, however natural, is a profound error that stems from a fundamental misunderstanding of how closeness actually operates. You see, when two beings are distant, they must shout to be heard. They must raise their voices, repeat themselves, and struggle against the space that separates them. The silence you perceive is not the silence of distance, it is the silence of intimacy. The problem that will not let you go has drawn you so close to the divine that your voice is no longer needed because your heart is already fully known. Imagine standing so near to another that your breath mingles with theirs, that your eyes meet without the need for translation, that your very presence communicates what words could never capture. In that proximity, speech becomes redundant. The sigh becomes a sentence. The tear becomes a testament. The stillness becomes a conversation more profound than any exchange of words could ever achieve. This is where the problem has brought you. It has pushed you past the threshold of ordinary dialogue into a realm where language itself falls away and something purer, something more essential, takes its place. The problem that will not let you go has not silenced the divine, it has silenced the noise so that you can finally hear the frequency of the divine that was always there, vibrating beneath the surface of your awareness. You have been praying for answers, but the answer is not a message, the answer is a presence. You have been seeking solutions, but the solution is not a change in circumstance, the solution is a change in consciousness. The problem persists because you are being held in a space of profound communion, a space where the usual rules of cause and effect, of request and response, no longer apply. You are not being ignored, you are being absorbed. You are not being forgotten, you are being remembered so deeply that your very existence is being redefined. The silence you experience is the sound of divine attention so intense that it has no need for articulation. It is the hush that falls when two souls recognize each other across the expanse of time and space, a recognition so complete that everything else falls away. The problem that keeps you awake at night, that haunts your thoughts, that refuses to loosen its grip is actually the thread that connects you to the source of all being. It is the umbilical cord through which you receive sustenance you cannot see, nourishment you cannot taste, and strength you cannot measure. Every moment you spend wrestling with this issue is a moment you spend in the presence of the divine, whether you feel it or not. Every tear you shed is a prayer that has already been heard before it leaves your eyes. Every wordless cry is a conversation that has already been answered before it reaches your lips. The veil between you and the divine has grown so thin that you mistake its transparency for absence, its nearness for distance, its intimacy for neglect. But the truth is that you are closer than you have ever been, and the problem that will not let you go is the evidence of the closeness, the proof that you are held in a gaze so loving that it will not look away until you are complete, transmutation. This is the fourth truth that the problem that refuses to release you is trying to etch into the very fabric of your being, and it demands that you shift your entire understanding of what the trial is actually accomplishing. You have been operating under the assumption that the purpose of any difficulty is to produce a solution, that the goal is to resolve the issue and return to a state of comfort and normalcy. You measure progress by the disappearance of the problem, and you measure failure by its persistence. But this framework is tragically limited because it reduces the entirety of your existence to a series of problems to be solved rather than a process of becoming. The problem that will not let you go is not interested in producing a solution you can hold in your hands, it is interested in producing a version of you that can withstand the weight of your own destiny. This is the alchemy of transmutation, the sacred process by which base metal is transformed into gold, not through the removal of the metal but through the application of intense heat and pressure until its very essence changes. You are the metal, and the problem is the fire. You are the clay, and the trial is the wheel. You are the raw material, and the persistent difficulty is the artisan's hand that will not stop shaping until the vessel is ready to hold what it was created to contain. Consider the irony of your prayers. You have been asking for the problem to be removed, for the fire to be extinguished, for the pressure to be relieved, and all the while the divine is working on something far more magnificent than the mere absence of distress. The divine is working on you. The problem is not an interruption to your development, it is the very means of your development. It is not a detour from your path, it is the path itself, paved with friction and resistance precisely because smooth roads produce no traction, and without traction, you cannot move forward. The problem that will not let you go is the force that is compressing your scattered energies into a focused intensity. It is the weight that is forcing your roots to dig deeper into the soil of your own soul. It is the resistance that is building your spiritual muscles so that when the burden you are meant to carry finally arrives, you will not collapse beneath its weight. You are being prepared for something you cannot yet see, something that requires a version of you that does not yet exist. And the only way to bring that version into being is through the sustained application of precisely the trial you are currently enduring. The problem will not release you because you are not yet finished. The fire will not cool because the metal is not yet pure. The pressure will not ease because the diamond is not yet formed. You are in the middle of a transformation that you cannot perceive because you are too close to the heat, too immersed in the discomfort to recognize that you are being reshaped into something extraordinary. Every sleepless night is a night of incubation. Every moment of frustration is a moment of refinement. Every tear is a solvent dissolving the impurities that have kept you from becoming who you were always meant to be. The problem that clings to you is not your enemy, it is your midwife, laboring to bring forth the person you cannot yet imagine. And when you finally emerge from this crucible, you will not recognize yourself, not because you have been destroyed but because you have been completed. You will look back and realize that the problem was never about the problem at all, it was always about you. It was always about the person you were becoming in the struggle, the strength you were cultivating in the resistance, the depth you were gaining in the darkness. The solution you have been praying for is not the removal of the trial, the solution is the version of you that the trial is creating, a version strong enough, wise enough, and whole enough to carry the future that awaits you, the unseen scaffolding. This is the fifth and final truth that the problem that refuses to release you is trying to reveal, and it requires you to completely invert your perception of what is actually happening in your life. You look at your circumstances and see only obstacles, barriers, and walls that block your progress. You see a fortress of impossibility that has been erected around your dreams, a prison of circumstance that confines your potential, a dead end that offers no passage forward. But what you are seeing is only the surface, only the facade, only the temporary structure that appears to be a wall but is actually something far more purposeful. The problem that will not let you go is not a wall designed to keep you out, it is scaffolding designed to build you up. Consider what scaffolding actually does. It is not the building itself, it is the temporary framework that makes the building possible. It is the external structure that supports the internal construction, the visible skeleton that enables the invisible growth. Scaffolding is ugly, intrusive, and inconvenient. It blocks views, complicates movement, and creates the appearance of chaos and incompleteness. But without it, no skyscraper can rise, no cathedral can be completed, no monument to human achievement can ever reach the heights it was meant to attain. The scaffolding is not the enemy of the building, it is the enabler of the building. It is the necessary inconvenience that makes the permanent structure possible. And so it is with the problem that will not let you go. You perceive it as a barrier, but it is actually a brace. You perceive it as a confinement, but it is actually a support. You perceive it as an obstruction, but it is actually a foundation. The problem is the scaffolding upon which your faith is being rebuilt, your character is being reinforced, and your soul is being elevated to heights you could never have reached without its assistance. The divine architect does not construct in the open where all can see. The most profound work happens behind scaffolding, hidden from casual view, obscured by the very structures that make it possible. And you are the building under construction. The problem that clings to you is the framework that is holding you steady while the deeper work is being done. It is the support that prevents you from collapsing while your internal foundations are being strengthened. It is the guide that keeps you aligned while your true shape is being formed. Without the scaffolding, you would fall. Without the problem, you would crumble. Without the resistance, you would never develop the tensile strength required to bear the weight of your own purpose. The problem will not let you go because the construction is not yet complete. The scaffolding will remain until the building can stand on its own. The support will persist until the structure is sound. The difficulty will continue until the work is finished. And when the work is finally done, when the internal transformation is complete, when your foundations are solid and your walls are strong, the scaffolding will be removed. But not before. Never before. Because the architect loves the building too much to leave it unfinished, loves the creation too much to abandon it halfway, loves the masterpiece too much to let it collapse in its incomplete state. The problem that will not let you go is the evidence that you are being built, that you are under construction, that you are becoming something that requires time, patience, and the temporary inconvenience of external support. It is the proof that you are not abandoned but are being carefully, meticulously, and lovingly constructed by hands that know exactly what they are doing. The walls you see are not walls at all, they are the framework of your becoming. The barriers you curse are not barriers, they are the supports of your elevation. The problem you cannot escape is not your prison, it is your scaffolding, and it will remain until you are ready to stand on your own, complete, whole, and finally able to bear the weight of the life you were always meant to live.